I have a habit when I sleep. I practically have to mount my giant body pillow plushie, wrapping my legs tightly around it to fall asleep. But one night out of nowhere, I heard the inner thoughts of the hottest guy I've been crushing on. Fuck, don't squeeze so tight. Christ, I can barely breathe. I was so freaked out I accidentally gave the pillow a hard kick. Immediately, a dark, raspy, muffled grunt vibrated right against my ear. I stared down at the plush sleeping doll in my hand, seriously doubting my own fucking sanity. Must be hallucinating. Why the hell would I hear Silas Sterling's voice? Was I crushing on him so hard that I was developing psychotic delusions? Creepy. No. I need to test this shit out. The plushie was a giant 5-foot-long fluffy cat. It was squishy, insanely soft, and just got delivered to my dorm 2 days ago. I absolutely loved how soft it felt. It was incredibly addictive to grow. But right then I showed no mercy. I made a fist and punched the plushie right in its squishy stomach. A split second later, Silas Sterling FaceTimed me. No warning, just his caller ID flashing on my screen. My eyes practically bulged out of my skull. It was 2 a.m. Why the fuck is he fast-timing me? I only had his iMessage because of a random group project ages ago. But he had been sitting in my contacts collecting dust ever since. Shocked and highly suspicious, I hit accept. The screen lit up to reveal Silas's unfairly flawless, drop-dead gorgeous face. When I first transferred to Brampton University, I fell for him at first sight. Let's be real. I wanted to ride him just based on that face. The guy was Brampton's notorious ice prince, untouchable. You could look, but you definitely couldn't touch. So I had to settle for a pathetic secret crush. I swallowed hard and asked the dumbest question possible. Is this Silas? Silas's eyes were red-rimmed, entirely missing their usual frosty glare. He looked flushed, almost like someone had just thoroughly bullied him into submission. His voice sounded weird as hell too. It was hoarse, tight, and holding back what sounded like raw physical pain. He grunted. What are you doing? It is the middle of the fucking night. What else would I be doing?
Sleeping? Obviously. I lied.
Keeping my face deadpan. Silas's jaw clenched tight. He looked like he wanted to say something, but silence fell between us. That was when it happened again. His lips didn't move an inch on the screen, but his voice echoed loud and clear directly into my mind. I can't let Clobier know I am physically connected to her. Fucking plushie. If she finds out, she'll definitely stop wrapping those gorgeous legs around me at night.
Me.
It took exactly 3 seconds for my brain to process this. Earth-shattering information. Silas Sterling was sharing sensory feedback with my giant stuffed cat, and I could hear his dirty little mind. Silas took a deep, jagged breath. His chest was heaving. Your body pillow is really cute. Maybe you shouldn't punch it so fucking hard it might get hurt. My fist was still buried deep in the plushie's belly, keeping the fabric completely caved in. I guess that must really ache, huh? Feeling a tiny bit guilty, I slowly pulled my hand back and began to gently, seductively stroke the cat's soft head on the screen. A dark, heavy flush crept up Silas's neck and stained his cheeks. Holy shit, the ice prince was actually blushing. I dragged my fingernails slowly down the plushie's body, tracing a line all the way to its tail. Silas's expression instantly worked. He looked like he was desperately trying to hold in a moan. The veins on his forehead visibly throbbed. Playing dumb, I asked, "Are you okay? You look like you are in pain." Silas curled his hands into tight fists. "I am fine. Just a mosquito bit me." He said it with a totally straight face, but his thoughts told a completely different, wildly erotic story. Fuck, Clobier is touching me. God, it feels so good. I love it when she strokes me like that. Don't stop. Touch me more. Love it. I stared at him in pure shock. Who would have thought that the cold, arrogant campus god was actually a massive, actually frustrated simp behind closed doors? But what the hell was I supposed to do now? He was so fucking cute. I think I just fell for him even harder. A wicked sweet smile spread across my lips. I let my fingertips lightly graze the plushie. Soft, yielding body. Don't worry, I purred softly into the phone. I really love this plushie. I'm going to take real good care of it. Now that I knew Silas was physically feeling everything I did to that doll, there was no way in hell I was throwing it out. I continued to sleep with it shoved tightly between my thighs. It was a habit I'd had since childhood. Without something between my legs to hug, I simply couldn't sleep. The next morning I woke up incredibly refreshed. Lexi, my obnoxious but loyal roommate, practically dragged me out the door toward the campus food court. "Hurry up, Chloe. If we're any later, the fresh breakfast sandwiches will be gone." The moment I stepped onto the path leading to the dining hall, a familiar deep voice vibrated in my head. When the fuck can I just openly call her my baby? I want to eat breakfast with her so bad. I stopped dead in my tracks. I scanned the courtyard until my eyes locked onto a tall, commanding figure standing by the corner. It was Silas, radiating his usual freezing, "Don't talk to me" aura. Sensing my gaze, his eyes darkened slightly. He gave me a stiff, painfully distant nod. My heart started racing. Lord, have mercy. How is he such a good actor? In public, he is the untouchable academic god. Private, he is a whiny, dependent golden retriever begging for my touch. The contrast was fucking intoxicating. I suppressed my pounding heart, forced myself to look away after one brief glance, and hurriedly walked off with Lexi. Instantly, his pathetic, dramatic inner whining filled my head. She left. Fuck. She really won't give me a second glance. She number fuck that I am eating with my girl today. I couldn't help the wicked smirk that crept onto my face. Why are we eating at the main food court today? A loud frat bro voice boomed nearby. Then that sexy deep baritone replied chillingly, "The air is better here. We could grab a window seat then." Excuse me, is anyone sitting here? I slowly looked up from my tray across the table. Lexi was practically having a stroke, violently wiggling her eyebrows at me. She knew I had a massive thing for Silas. Thrilled by the chance to set me up with the campus god, Lexi answered faster than I could open my mouth.
No, sit.
Sit right next to Chloe. Silas looked down at me, his eyes full of fake light. Inquiry, do you mind? Chloe. Wow, so formal. I wonder who was panting and calling me his Chloe bear hundreds of times last night, while trapped under my thigh. Gasping it, whining it, groaning it, was hot as fuck. I mirrored his cold energy, gave a stiff nod, and hummed a flat sure. Right on cue, his devastated inner voice wailed. Why is she acting so cold to me? Did I do something wrong? Is my outfit shit? Silas and his roommate Brody set their trays down. Silas's mood visibly plummeted. His cold aura turned into actual daggers shooting in every direction. Brody, sensing his buddy's murderous mood, took a bite of his bagel. What is up with you, bro? You sick or something? Before Silas could tell him to shut the fuck up, Brody sold him out. I told you, man, you can't be taking 6 freezing cold showers a night. I don't care how athletic you are. Your body can't handle that kind of abuse. She gasped, her eyes wide. Brody shrugged. He is a massive neat freak. A neat freak, huh? I blinked, keeping my face the picture of innocence. Silas shot me a desperate heavy look. God, she looks so fucking cute when she smiles. I am not a neat freak. Brody is just a fucking idiot. If my girl wasn't grinding her gorgeous body against me all night, I wouldn't have had to take 6 cold showers to freeze my heart on. This is absolute excruciating torture. But I love it. 6 times. A raging heart on my core tightened. I shot him another quick glance through my lashes. Fuck yes. She looked at me again. Coming here was the best decision I ever made. Please let her look at me tomorrow too. For the next few days, I magically ran into Silas in the dining hall every single day. During the day, we were nothing more than distant classmates sharing a table. But at night, we were practically sleeping together in the most twisted, cybersensory way possible. I wasn't entirely sure how the telepathy and sensory link worked, but Silas was rapidly infiltrating every corner of my life. And it planted some dirty, forbidden ideas in my head. Maybe I could push the envelope a bit further. Every night, I fell asleep listening to his inner monologue. Sometimes the sudden low groans he let out when I shifted my legs would make my whole face burn red. The high and mighty Ice Prince was a total degenerate in bed. It was so hot. I took a bite of my sandwich, peeking at Silas sitting across from me. His flawlessly sculpted face was flushed with a healthy glow. The corners of his mouth were actually curled upward. He didn't look cold at all. He looked like he was basking in the afterglow. As we sat there, the sexual tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife. Neither of us said a word, just letting the heavy, unspoken lust hang in the air. Are these seats taken? A slender, gorgeous girl with an incredibly smug face walked over with her tray. Silas's face instantly went back to ice. Yes. The girl looked around and laughed by who they're coming. Silas furrowed his brows, looking thoroughly pissed off. The girl tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her smile sugary and fake. Well, they aren't here right now, so I'll just sit. Silas. It has been so long. Silas completely ignored her. Instead, using his chopsticks, he picked up a piece of shrimp and placed it directly onto my plate. Try this. My lips curved into a smirk. The annoyance I felt from the interruption vanished instantly. Saman Kensington didn't even flinch at being ignored. She was used to being an entitled brat. It is fine if you ignore me, Silas. Your grandpa is having us over for dinner tonight anyway. You're coming, right? She shot me a highly venomous, triumphant glare. Silas still didn't give her the time of day, continuing to feed me pieces of meat. Savannah looked like she was about to crack her own teeth from grinding them so hard. After lunch, Savannah decided to corner me near the exit. Our families are old money. We literally run this city. Silas and I are getting married. It is arranged. My good mood shattered. I let out a cold laugh, my tone dripping with absolute disregard. And, am I supposed to give a fuck? Savannah sneered. He is just fucking around with you. When it comes time to put a ring on it, it is gonna be me.
Oh.
What a coincidence. I deadpan, leaning in just a fraction so she could see the absolute lack of threat I felt. Because when it comes time for him to beg, he's thinking about me. Good luck with the dinner, Savannah. Make sure you check his pulse. He might just die of boredom. I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving her sputtering in the courtyard. Despite my cool exit, my blood was boiling. Arranged marriage? Old money bullshit? The rational part of my brain knew Savannah was just an entitled brat trying to mark territory she didn't actually own. But the possessive, slightly unhinged part of me that had spent the last week intimately linked to Silas's subconscious was thoroughly pissed off. I didn't care about their old money. Silas was mine. He belonged to me and my giant, fluffy plushie. When I got back to the dorm, Lexi was already out for the night, attending some frat mixer she had been stressing over all week. The room was blissfully quiet. My eyes landed on the giant cat plushie sitting innocently on my bed. I checked the time. 7:30 p.m. Right around the time Silas would be sitting down at whatever stuffy, pretentious restaurant Savannah's family had dragged him to. A wicked, diabolical idea bloomed in my mind. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and climbed onto the bed. I pulled the giant plushie into my lap, settling it comfortably between my legs. The moment my thighs clamped down on the soft fabric, a sharp, choked gasp echoed through my mind. Holy fuck. Silas's inner voice was practically vibrating.
Not now.
God, please, Clobier, not right now. My grandfather is right across from me. I smirked, leaning back against my headboard. Oh, so the dinner had started?
Perfect.
I started slow. I ran my fingernails lightly down the back of the plushie, tracing the seam with deliberate, agonizing slowness. Fuck me, Silas's voice groaned in my head, raw and desperate. I can't focus. What did Mr. Kensington just ask me? The merger.
Right.
Breathe, Silas. Just pretend you're not getting practically stroked to death under the table. I held back a laugh and flipped the cat over, resting my hands on its squishy chest. I remembered the exact spot that made him blush the other night. I pressed my thumbs into the plushie's collarbone area, massaging the fabric with firm, circular motions. Christ. His inner voice was fracturing. Her fucking hands are so soft. Why is she touching it like that? She's never done it during the day. Oh my God, she's tracing my chest. Silas, steer. Savannah's voice suddenly filtered through the mental link, faint but audible through his ears. You look a little flushed. Is the soup too hot? I'm burning alive, and it's not the fucking soup, Silas thought violently. Out loud, his voice was a masterclass in detached, freezing politeness.
I'm fine, Savannah.
Just a bit warm in here. Oh, he was warm? Let's fix that. I leaned down and pressed my lips right against the plushie's neck, right where the faux fur met the seam. I didn't just kiss it. I opened my mouth slightly and gave it a soft, deliberate bite, dragging my teeth over the fabric before soothing it with my tongue. A loud clatter echoed through the telepathic link. Silverware hitting fine china.
Fuck.
Silas's mind screamed, a glorious symphony of panic and unadulterated lust. She's biting me. Chloe is fucking biting my neck. I'm going to lose my goddamn mind. I'm going to flip this table. Hide it, cross your legs, Sterling. Silas? Did you drop your fork? His grandfather's stern voice barked. My apologies, Silas rasped. He sounded like he had just run a marathon. Excuse me for a moment. I heard the sound of a chair scraping aggressively against the floor, followed by hurried, heavy footsteps. A door slammed. The quiet hum of an upscale restaurant was replaced by the echoing silence of a tiled bathroom. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand just as it started vibrating. Incoming FaceTime, Silas Sterling. I let it ring 3 times, composing my face into a mask of pure, sleepy innocence. I hit accept. Silas looked absolutely wrecked. He was standing in what looked like a luxurious marble restroom. His usually immaculate suit jacket was off, slung over his arm. His tie was loosened, the top 2 buttons of his crisp, white shirt ripped open to reveal the flushed, heavily pulsing skin of his throat. His hair, usually styled to icy perfection, was a messy, raked-through disaster. He was glaring at the camera, but his eyes were dark, dilated, and burning with a hunger that made my stomach swoop. Hey, I said softly, blinking up at him. It's 8 p.m. Why are you calling me? He stared at me, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. What are you doing? He demanded, his voice dropping an octave, rough as sandpaper. Watching a movie. I lied smoothly. I shifted the camera angle just enough so he could see I was in bed, but kept the plushie out of frame.
Why?
Aren't you at some fancy dinner with Savannah? She made sure to tell me all about your little arranged marriage earlier. Silas's jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might shatter. There is no arranged marriage. It's a business dinner our grandfather set up. I have zero interest in her. I only want you. His inner voice whimpered desperately. God, I want to crawl through this phone and pin you to that mattress. Please tell me you're jealous.
Please.
I hummed, pretending to be uninterested. If you say so. Anyway, you interrupted me. I was having a really nice, relaxing evening with my favorite pillow. To prove my point, I reached down off camera and gave the plushie's inner thigh a hard, teasing squeeze. Silas actually buckled. His hand shot out to grip the marble sink vanity to keep himself upright. A sharp, breathy curse slipped past his lips before he could stop it. Fuck. Silas? Are you okay? I asked, my voice dripping with fake concern. You look like you're in pain again. Another mosquito. Chloe, he warned. His voice was a dangerous velvet growl. He was staring at me through the screen like a starving wolf. Stop. Stop what? Stop touching me before I do something insane, his mind pleaded. I can't take it. I'm going to embarrass myself. She's torturing me, and she doesn't even know it. I have to go, he choked out, completely losing his Ice Prince composure. I'm leaving the dinner. I'm coming back to campus. Before I could say another word, the screen went black. He hung up. I tossed my phone onto the mattress and buried my face in the plushie, laughing until my sides ached. Oh, he had it so bad. The untouchable campus god was currently fleeing a Michelin star dinner because I gave his stuffed surrogate a hickey. 40 minutes later, a knock hammered against my dorm room door. It wasn't a polite tap. It was urgent, heavy, and demanding. I checked my reflection in the mirror, fluffed my hair, and walked over to unlock it. Silas stood in the hallway. He looked even more unhinged in person. He had ditched the suit entirely, wearing just the dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his forearms, exposing the thick veins running down his wrists. He towered over me, his broad shoulders practically blocking out the hallway light. You're back early, I said, leaning against the doorframe, crossing my arms. I told my grandfather I was sick, Silas muttered, stepping forward until he was right in my personal space. The scent of him, expensive cedarwood cologne mixed with the crisp night air and raw, masculine heat, enveloped me. I drove 90 miles an hour to get back to her, his mind confessed, loud and clear. She smells like vanilla. I want to bury my face in her neck. Why is she looking at me like that? Just kiss me. Please just kiss me. I looked up at him, letting the silence stretch. Sick? With what? A fever, he said smoothly, though his eyes darted to my lips. Must be a bug going around.
Right.
A fever. I stepped back, leaving the door open. Come in. Lexi's out. He didn't need to be told twice. He stepped into my room, his gaze immediately locking onto the bed. More specifically, locking onto the giant, 5-foot-long fluffy cat plushie sitting right in the center of my pillows. He swallowed hard. There it is. My worst enemy. My best friend. The only reason I know what it feels like to have her legs wrapped around me. So, I began, walking over to the bed and sitting down right next to the plushie. I patted its head. Silas's eye twitched. Savannah seemed pretty confident that you two were endgame. She said your families run the city. Savannah is delusional, Silas said coldly, his Ice Prince persona returning the moment someone else was brought up. My grandfather wants a merger. Her father wants a merger. I don't give a shit about either. I already told my grandfather tonight that if he pushes it, I'll pull my shares from the company. My eyebrows shot up. You threatened your own grandfather over a dinner? I don't like being forced into things, he replied, his gaze dragging slowly from the plushie back to me. And I already have someone else in mind.
You.
It's always been you. Since the day you walked into that lecture hall wearing that oversized sweater, you ruined me. My heart did a violent backflip. Hearing his inner thoughts was one thing, but knowing the depths of his obsession was intoxicating. I was done playing the oblivious crush. It was time to shatter the glass. Someone else in mind, huh? I murmured, kicking my legs up onto the bed. I grabbed the plushie and pulled it firmly against my chest, wrapping my arms around it. Silas's breath hitched audibly.
God. Her chest.
She's holding me against her chest. Yeah, he managed to choke out, his fists clenching at his sides. You know, Silas, I said softly, looking down at the plushie's button eyes before looking up to meet his intense gaze. This plushie, it's the strangest thing. He froze. Total, absolute stillness. Even his inner thoughts went completely silent for a terrifying second. Then panic. Panic. Abort. What do you mean? He asked, his voice entirely devoid of emotion. He was utilizing every ounce of his legendary self-control. Well, I traced a finger down the plushie's nose. Silas suppressed a shiver. Ever since I got it, weird things have been happening. For instance, when I punch it, certain people FaceTime me at 2 a.m. looking like they just took a gut shot. Silas's face drained of color. I didn't stop. I leaned forward, my voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial whisper. And when I stroke it,
I hear a voice in my head.
a very deep, very sexy voice. A voice that whines and begs and calls me Clobier. The silence in the room was deafening. I could actually see the exact moment Silas Sterling's soul left his body. His eyes widened to an almost comical degree. His legendary icy facade didn't just crack, it pulverized into dust. A dark, furious blush exploded across his cheeks, painting his neck, his ears, and his face in a shade of brilliant, horrified crimson. You, his voice cracked. Actually cracked. You heard? I want to die. Let the earth swallow me whole. I'm moving to Antarctica. She knows. Oh my God. She knows I'm a pathetic simp. She knows I begged her to touch me. She knows about the cold showers. 6 cold showers in one night. I teased, tilting my head. Brody really outed you, huh? Silas brought a hand up to cover the lower half of his face, staring at the floor as he took a ragged breath. You knew. This whole time. Today at lunch. Earlier tonight. I figured it out the night you called. I admit it, my smirk softening into a genuine smile. I stood up, letting the plushie fall onto the floor. And I realized that the untouchable ice prince of Brampton University is actually just a massive, touch-starved golden retriever. He dropped his hand, his eyes snapping up to mine. The mortification was still there, but beneath it, the raw, unfiltered possessiveness that had been trapped in his mind was finally bleeding into reality. If his secret was out, he had nothing left to lose. In 2 long strides, he closed the distance between us. He backed me up against the edge of the bed, planting a hand on either side of my hips, trapping me in. He was so close I could feel the heat radiating off his body, completely overshadowing the phantom sensations from the plushie. You think this is funny? He murmured, his voice dropping to a dangerous, velvety pitch that sent shivers straight down my spine. A little. I breathed, my heart hammering against my ribs. You tortured me, he stated, leaning in until his nose brushed against mine. You knew I could feel everything. You knew I could hear you. And you purred into the phone, telling me how good you were going to take care of me. You wrapped those legs around me every single night, knowing it was driving me absolutely insane. And did you want me to stop? I challenged, tilting my chin up to meet his fiery gaze. If you had stopped, I would have burned the city down, he confessed, his voice rough with pure honesty. He didn't hesitate anymore. His large hands moved from the mattress to grip my waist, hoisting me up effortlessly until I was sitting on the edge of the bed. He stepped between my thighs, mirroring the exact position I used to hold the plushie. Only this time, it was solid muscle, burning heat, and the real, actual Silas Sterling. Finally. 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 His inner voice was chanting like a prayer, but I didn't need telepathy to feel how much he wanted me. His lips crashed down on mine. It wasn't gentle. It was years of a secret, starving crush colliding with weeks of excruciating sensory torture. He kissed me like a dying man finding water, his mouth hot and demanding, pouring all of his frustration, lust, and devotion into the kiss. I gasped against his lips, my hands instantly tangling in his perfectly styled hair, ruining it further. He groaned, an actual, audible sound right against my mouth, and wrapped his arms tightly around my back, pulling me flush against his hard chest. It was 100 times better than the plushie. The sensory feedback was nothing compared to the electric jolt of his real skin, his real scent, the frantic beating of his heart against mine. When he finally pulled back to breathe, we were both panting. His lips were swollen, his eyes dark with unmasked desire. I am never going back to being a fucking pillow, he growled, resting his forehead against mine. I laughed breathlessly. Good. The pillow didn't kiss back. He smirked, a devastating, genuine expression that transformed his handsome face into something lethal. You have no idea what I'm going to do to you, Clobier. I've had a lot of time to think about it. Show me, I whispered.
He did.
That night, the telepathic link wasn't just a one-way broadcast of his secret desires. It became a brilliant, overwhelming feedback loop of our shared pleasure. Every time his lips trailed down my neck, every time his hands mapped the curves of my body, I could feel his euphoria echoing in my own mind, magnifying the physical sensations until I was seeing stars. He worshipped me like a religion, making up for every night he had spent trapped as an inanimate object. He was demanding, thorough, and completely obsessed. By the time we collapsed into a tangled, breathless mess in the early hours of the morning, the giant cat plushie was long forgotten, kicked unceremoniously into the corner of the room. The next afternoon, the Brampton University campus was buzzing as usual. Lexi had returned to the dorm early that morning, taken one look at Silas's $800 dress shoes by the door, and practically sprinted away in supportive, squealing triumph. Silas and I walked into the main dining hall together. Gone was the mandatory 3-foot distance. Gone was his freezing, untouchable aura. His arm was wrapped firmly around my waist, pulling me tight against his side. The contrast was so shocking that half the student body actually stopped eating to stare. The Ice Prince, who had never so much as looked at a girl on campus, was openly cuddling me in the middle of the food court. "People are staring," I murmured, amused. "Let them stare. Let every single guy here know you're mine," his inner voice growled proudly. Out loud, he just kissed the top of my head and said, "I don't care." We had just sat down at our usual table. Brody was already there, his jaw practically unhinged at the sight of us, when the piercing clack of designer heels announced the arrival of a very unwelcome guest. Savannah marched over to our table, her face a mask of shock and furious indignation. "Silas, what is the meaning of this? You left the dinner last night without a word." My grandfather was furious. "And now you're with her?" She pointed a manicured finger at me as if I were a piece of trash that had blown in from the wind. Silas didn't even blink. The warmth in his eyes vanished, replaced instantly by the terrifying, glacial stare that had earned him his reputation. "Lower your voice, Savannah," he said quietly, but the sheer command in his tone made her flinch. "I left the dinner because I was finished. I told my grandfather the merger is not happening if it involves a marriage. Period." "You can't do that," she shrieked, her poise crumbling. "We belong together. Our families." "I don't care about our families," Silas cut her off, his voice like cracking ice. "And if you ever speak disrespectfully to my girlfriend again, I will personally ensure Kensington Holdings loses the Sterling contract. Do I make myself perfectly clear?" Savannah gasped, her face turning pale. The entire dining hall had gone dead silent, listening to the campus god publicly execute her social standing. She looked around, realizing she had no allies here, let out a humiliated sob, and turned on her heel, storming out of the food court. Brody let out a low whistle.
"Dumb man."
"Remind me never to piss you off." Silas ignored him, his attention snapping back to me. The ice melted instantly. He reached under the table, resting his large, warm hand affectionately on my thigh. "God, she looks so beautiful today. I want to skip class and take her back to my place. I wonder if she'll let me hold her from behind tonight." I hid my smile behind my coffee cup, feeling the comforting weight of his hand and the loud, simping devotion of his thoughts. "We have class in 20 minutes, Sterling," I whispered, leaning in so only he could hear. "But after that, you can hold me however you want." His eyes darkened, a triumphant, wicked smirk spreading across his flawless face.
"Best
"Fucking
day of my life."
I chuckled, resting my head against his shoulder. The magic plushie might have started this insane connection, but it was just a catalyst. I had broken the untouchable Ice Prince, and what I found underneath was exactly what I had always wanted. A man who was entirely, helplessly, and hopelessly obsessed with me. And the best part? I didn't even need telepathy to know it anymore. He proved it every single day.